London's low-key disappointing at this point, but we'll get into it. Also, would not recommend getting Dunkin' here. It's nowhere near the same as American Dunkin'. I was so excited. I miss my Dunkins. Would not recommend. But anyway, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Nelly and I am an indie author. I currently have, crazily enough, 12 books out. I do not have any more planned for the foreseeable future, but whilst I'm here, I'm traveling around just getting inspiration for an epic fantasy series that I'm writing. Difference with this series compared to all my other series is like this one's gonna be fantasy with romance in it, whereas my other books are romance in fantasy worlds. So they're fantasy romances. I want this to be a romantic fantasy. Another big difference with this video compared to part 1 of this series is part 1 I filmed after about a week of doing things here in London. It's now been 3 weeks since then, so I have about 3 weeks worth of stuff to tell you about, mind you. Whereas in that first week I did stuff back to back because I had the London pass, so I had to do it back to back. This time they're very spread out. Now, while that was nice for me to like relax in between, it's not that great for my memory because now I have to try to remember everything I took like videos of, everything I thought of for the series. So I'm inevitably gonna forget something. Alright, so let's start off with the first place we're gonna talk about. This is probably my favorite of all of the places we're gonna talk about, and that was Chatsworth House up in, I don't remember, Chesterfield. So it's about 2 to 3 hours away from London. It was an entire day trip. I did it for my birthday specifically because that's Mr. Darcy's house in Pride and Prejudice. So I was like, I have to go see it, and it was absolutely beautiful. I would highly recommend you go do that. So the actual house, you get to see like 10 rooms. You don't get to see that much of the actual house. You get to see the staircase, which I do have a video of. Absolutely stunning. There's like books, there's busts and stuff that remind you of Pride and Prejudice. Maybe could be used. I'm not sure. We'll see when I'm actually writing it, because there might be sections where like I can't think of it now, but when I'm writing the scene I'm like, well, yeah, obviously she's in that type of location. Or he, depending on which character I'm in. But then you go out to the gardens, and the gardens are like the part of Chatsworth House. Gorgeous. There was like so much to do. You get lost there for hours. I was probably out there for a good hour and a half. I could have been out, and it was raining, mind you. It was the only day that rained. It was raining, but the entire time I was out there, I was like, I wish I was married. I wish I had my husband here. We'd be strolling around, finding, you know, like romantic spots, or just like, it would just be so romantic to do that with a significant other. Now, while I was walking, there were a couple of things I was like, this could play into it. One of them was, this isn't in Pride and Prejudice, but it felt like a Pride and Prejudice section. Hopefully I can align the video with what I'm saying right now. But it was like this dome that one side opened up, and it wasn't a waterfall, but it was basically a waterfall all the way down. Absolutely stunning. And when I was in there, I specifically took videos going from the part like where the waterfall is behind me around, specifically thinking about it in like, because it was raining, I had water on me, like I had water dripping down my face. I was thinking about it specifically like that, where my characters, I don't know which character's perspective this would be in, could like, it could be raining, they could like run into that section. So I wanted a specific video of the whole thing, not the whole thing because there were other people in there too, but enough of the whole thing that I could get an idea when I'm writing it. And it kind of felt like a hideout, yeah, but it kind of felt like it could go both ways, where it could be from a dangerous situation hideout, or like hiding from, you know, a significant other type of hideout. So that was probably my favorite part of like finding things for the book, not just the entire thing. And then there was this other walkway. It was like a maze, bro. Oh, there was a maze there too. I was so excited. If there's anything you should know about me, my dream house, the one I have in my head that I'm like, I have to build from the ground up because nobody else has a maze in the garden section. So I went into the maze. I did get lost a little bit, just a little bit. But when I went into there, I was like, oh, this is so much fun. We have to put a maze into one of the books. And I do think I know which book. It might not be that book, because I can't put everything into that book. But yeah, it was fun to be in that maze. But anyway, that's not what I was talking about. There was another section where it's kind of like a cobblestone wall, almost. I think I got a video of it from the top, and then I got a video of me actually walking through it. It wasn't like very expansive or anything, but when I saw it because I saw it from the top first, when I saw it, I was like, that looks like a children's training ground. Like, expand it, and that could be like the children's training ground. Now, whether I would put that in book 1 or book 3, just based on location, I'm not entirely sure yet. I kind of feel like now that I'm thinking about it, it would go into book 1. And like those kids can train using something like that. But again, we'll see. Oh, there was also another section, like you see memories coming back to me. Inside, there was this one room when you walked into it. It was basically all just like wood with like paintings, like most opulent places have. But there was this one section at the front where I don't remember who it was, but there was like a statue of someone, and it was just like opulent. It kind of felt like a shrine. That was 100% the world of book 1. So in book 1, majority, that's a lie, a good amount, not majority, of the location is in one of the nations, and their government is a theocracy. So they're very much based on religion. So I figured, when I saw that room, when I walked in that room, I was like, oh my god, there has to be a room like this in that world, in that like nation. And you know, our characters, none of our main characters are from that nation. So it's gonna be, depending on, it could be all their perspectives, it could be only one of their perspectives, I'm not sure yet, describing that, or all of them go into a section that's similar to that, because it is a theocracy, so it'd be a lot of like religion based stuff. But that room, I was like, oh my god, this would be perfect for like kind of like a shrine area. Next time I can't wait this long, because I don't remember if there was more. If there was, well, there's definitely probably more videos, so you'll probably still be seeing videos. But if there was more stuff that I could think of, I'll mention it later. Until then, for the next week that I've been here, so my birthday was on the 11th, the next thing I did was the 17th. So for those few days in between, it was more like just relaxing, just walking around London kind of thing. So on the 17th, I had a day trip to the Cotswolds, because that was the one thing where you need a day trip, like, because the trains don't go out there, so you need someone to drive you. So you either need to rent a car and do it yourself, which I'm not driving on the other side of the road, or you have to get one of these buses, which highly recommend the buses, especially the one I took. I'll link it below. Amazing. My tour guide's name was Kevin. He was such a sweetheart. But anyway, we went to Cotswolds. We hit 4 villages, and it was cute. But it was when we got to the popular Cotswolds village, Bybury or Bibbury, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Literally, the tour guide said, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I would probably say Bybury. But anyway, that's the one with like those really cute houses that you see in the postcards and stuff. But when you're there, it's literally so fast. You basically walk a circle and you're done. When you're walking the circle, there's a bunch of like little rivers and stuff. When I saw one, I was like, oh my god, it hit me immediately. that part's going in book 2, and I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited. Here's the problem. I want to say what it is, and I don't really get that many views on my videos, so I don't really care about saying what it is, but like, you never know, right? But basically, book 2, there's gonna be, say, about 5 different main things within the first like 70% of the book that I need to have like figured out. Yeah, I'll say it like that. And this is the first of those 5 things. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I could already see the scene of our main 2 characters, so the female and the male, basically in the river. Like, they're in the river. I kind of see it in 2 ways. So again, that'll depend when I'm writing the scene of whether they fell into it and they're like kind of getting dragged, or if they have to go through it to, you know, get to the other side. I'm not entirely sure yet. But because I saw that, I was like, oh, this is gorgeous. But I don't really know how I'm going to incorporate it. Walk, walk, walk. Once you walk the circle at Cotswolds, you get to like this bridge. So I was just, we had time there. So I had to wait until, you know, the bus was going to leave again. So I was just standing over the bridge, literally like this, just looking down. There were like 2 swans and like a duck or 2 just swimming around. So I was just like looking down. As I'm looking down, like, this is my main character doing this exact same thing. So it literally filled out the entire scene for me. Not the scene, but like the event of the scene. So we're gonna have that exact scene of my main character on a bridge looking down, but this is gonna be after she was in the water, so she's like soaking wet. But because of this, I figured out like where they are, why they're there, kind of thing. So it's gonna be basically in book 2, they're in a completely different world, and there's like a moat around this world, but then there's, again, I'm not entirely sure yet, so I'm just making this up as I go, but like not a forest, but kind of a forest that kind of separates it, that no one's really allowed to go into, but they're there kind of situation. Let's put it that way. So that's where, so I figured out, I was like, oh, it's gonna get dropped like that, and they're gonna have to figure out the way back. And it's in this situation of them figuring it out where they might start getting into fights, because they're like, bro, how do we get out of this? Where they get fallen, or they choose to go to, I'm not sure yet, into that river. They're soaking wet. I could probably have it rain too. I didn't write this down because I forgot, but recently, I'll talk about this a little bit, I went to Hampstead Heath, and it wasn't raining, but it had rained before. There was mud everywhere. Bring that back to this scene. Whether I have it rain or not, I'm not entirely sure yet. Muddy. I have to remember that detail of whether or not it's raining. If you're soaking wet all the way down to your shoes, when you're walking on dirt, it's gonna be like squelchy and muddy. So all of that, plus like her going over the bridge, and that section I think is really important, because it's gonna be like her kind of like trying, like, kind of like figuring out like what's going, like, it's not a romantic scene, but it's a very like important scene, and I'm so excited for it. Like, thinking back to the Cotswolds is literally what that one-day trip defined this entire first event. So very exciting. You know what, since I mentioned it, let me just get Hampstead Heath. It's Heath. It doesn't matter. Let's get that out of the way as well. So a few days ago, I went there. It's literally basically an entire forest that you just walk through. I 100% got lost. I was listening to music, so my battery was dying on my phone. So once I started getting lost, I was, because usually I don't mind getting lost, but I was like, my phone's dying, so I need to get out of here before it actually dies and I can't get out of here. But it's basically an entire forest. It was beautiful. I kept posting about it on my Instagram, on my story. I was like, people are probably really annoyed about this. But 2 things there. One was obviously like the muddy parts I was walking on made me figure that section out for event 1 of those 5. But I also just wanted to have those videos here I think it was mostly boomerangs that I took of just the forest, because whether I use that in event 1 or that's for book 2, or if I use it for book 1, in book 1 in the Theocracy Nation that we're going to be in, currently, I'm not sure yet, but currently in my head I have it that they're going to be in the forest a lot, so I could use that as inspiration for like what being in the forest looks like. So yeah, there isn't much to say about that, but I'll figure it out. Especially with these videos, I'll be able to go back and like. The next thing I want to talk about is a cemetery that's literally behind where I live. It's Brompton Cemetery. I'm only telling you because I leave here in like a day or two, so I don't really care. Brompton Cemetery, if you're ever in London, highly recommend. My mom heard I like go for strolls in the cemetery and she thinks I'm crazy. Like, she worries for me. I'm like, bro, you don't understand. It's so relaxing. First of all, there are families there, so you don't have to worry about it. But the first day I went was actually raining, so there was like no one there. It was amazing. And most of my videos from there are from that first visit of when it's raining. Absolutely beautiful. And it was that first visit that I was there. I visited multiple times now because, again, I live right by it, so I just go for walks there. But that first visit when it was raining, first of all, so much more beautiful. But so basically the way the Brompton Cemetery is a cemetery, and I love cemeteries where like you get the stones sticking out, because where I'm from, at least the cemetery my family is buried in, it's just a stone in the ground. It's not sticking out, and I hate those. They're so boring. But there are people who died in the 1800s at the cemetery, so it's old. But it's like all the stones and stuff, and then there's basically like this dome with walkways. Beautiful. So I was standing in one of those walkways just looking out, and it hit me. I knew exactly what was gonna happen at the end of book 3. So I already knew what was gonna happen at the end of book 3, not like 100%, but for 2-3 of the characters, because they have a scene together that I already know exactly how. That's a lie. I know approximately how it's gonna play out, but I was like, I don't really know the location. I don't know like where they're going and what's gonna happen type of thing. But I was at the cemetery and I was like, oh, I know exactly how it's gonna happen. And it made me so excited. So basically, without giving too much away, before, because I didn't really know, I was like, maybe it'll just be in like a random part of the forest and you just have to figure out where in the forest it is. But now I was like, no, it'll be in a big cemetery, because Brompton Cemetery is quite big. It'll be in a large cemetery and you have to figure out which plot you're going to. And then again, I haven't figured it out like entirely yet, so it could be they have to like break down the plot. It could be like spells. I don't know. Are they mages? Oh yeah, technically one of them is. But I don't know. So like that specifically I haven't figured out, but when I was at the cemetery I was like, oh, this is exactly how it's gonna be. And so when I'm walking around the cemetery now, I'm like, they're running. They're trying to find it. They're running. So that was the big one. And then the other thing that I considered was that dome thing that they have there with the walkways. When you're just walking through the walkway, absolutely stunning. I figured I could use that in probably books 1 or 3. Because again, book 1, you're in a Theocracy Nation, so it could be something to do with that. Or in book 3, you're in more of a like a fighter nation, so it could be like training ground, school kind of area. Not entirely sure yet. Technically, in book 1, you could also be in like an academy, because I think I'm gonna have an academy section as well. Okay, I'm gonna have to go back through all my videos to like make sure I didn't miss anything. But before I do that, last night I went to Twilight in concert, which was literally it was in a movie theater, but you went to watch Twilight like in a movie theater, and there was musicians there to like play the songs. Was it worth it? Not really. mostly because the audience was so annoying. They were laughing at everything. I was like, bro, shut up. But it was worth it in the sense that, like, I saw Twilight in like it wasn't a movie theater, but like a movie theater, because Twilight, out of the 5 movies, was the only one I didn't see movies. Anyway, not the point. While I was watching it, the scene where Edward shows himself to Bella in the sun, so like the sparkly, I was like, wait, because one of my characters is a vampire. He's not gonna be called a vampire, but like he's a vampire. And when that scene came up, immediately I thought of Vampire Diaries and how they burn. I think the like myth of vampires, they burn, and how she made them sparkle. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I hadn't even thought of like, will there be something else to the way the vampires, you know, like operate? I don't think there'll be something to do with sunlight at all currently. But it did make me like figure something out for them. So basically, oh, actually that wasn't that scene. The scene where she's like looks up Cold One is where I thought of this. The sunlight one was, I was literally just thinking, should I do something with the sunlight? Like, is that gonna be something that bothers them? Oh, this is why. So in the Cold One scene, I was like, oh yeah, they're supposed to be cold. But I figured it, so the vampires in my story are like, so they obviously drink blood, but there's a specific nation of people whose blood they want more than anybody's, and it's the one nation they can't actually get to ever. So I think I'm gonna have it where, in like, if they ever taste that blood, wink wink, if they ever taste that blood, they get like, well, I already had this where they get like extra strong and stuff, but that's where they're gonna be like the most normal temperatured. And then when they're tasting just any blood, they're gonna be like pretty normal temperatured, maybe tiny bit colder, but like not something you would really be able to notice. And then as they're getting hungrier and they've gone without blood is like when they actually start getting cold. So like nothing really about them change, like skin color's not gonna change and stuff. It's just their skin's gonna start getting cold. And that'll be like the telling factor of like, if you touch one of them, you'll be like, oh wait, like you haven't eaten, you need to eat. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, would be so cute if it's like the vampires are like neglecting eating for whatever reason, and one of the non-ones touches them or like raises them at some point. It's like, bro, you need to eat, and like they get, oh, that'd be so cute. You see, this is my problem with writing romantic fantasy rather than fantasy romance, because I think in romance. I like every story to me comes in terms of romance. So I have to like pull myself out of the romance and be like, now we need to build a world. But yeah, watching Twilight actually made me figure that Cold One section out. And then the sunlight section, again, not entirely sure. I could actually have it where, now that I'm thinking about it, this is kind of the same as like when your skin starts to turn cold, the sun will affect you once you start to turn cold. Again, how it'll affect you, I'm not gonna have them sparkle. That's absolutely ridiculous. But something like that, I don't know. Because I don't want to have them burn. I feel like that's just so generic. I don't know. I don't want to have them burn. I don't want them to sparkle. But it could be something that affects them as well. Okay, another thing that I did. Last week, I went to Harry Potter Studios, which was really cute. It was like a bucket list thing I finally got off. Tried butterbeer. This is gonna be all over the place. I tried butterbeer. It was actually quite good. It kind of tastes like vanilla with some root beer. Kind of. Would recommend it. It was good. But anyway, I went to Harry Potter Studios. It was fun, although I wouldn't like personally want to ever go again unless I'm going with children, because like I would want to take my kids there. It would be so much fun for my kids to go. But I just felt like it was like not as great for, especially because I'm not like I'm a fan, but I'm not a mega fan. So I still did all the really expensive photos and stuff, but yeah, next time I want to go, highly recommend going with children. I think it'd be so much fun. But anyway, one of the things I did there was, so there's this photo section where you could take a photo as like one of the wanted posters, and then you can go and you can like ride a broomstick, and then you get the video of you flying all over the place doing that broomstick. One, obviously you're not like actually flying because you're like cemented onto the ground, but watching that video I'm like, oh, because in this world we have dragons, so babes, they need to be flying. It's not the same thing, but I feel like I can use that video of me flying to like kind of maneuver how I want to do the dragon thing. Possibly I do need to do something where I'm like really high up there to kind of get more of the effect of being so high up there, so I can write that in the dragon. But currently I think I can use that kind of. And then I mean, I took videos of like, because Harry Potter World is literally just a bunch of the sets from Harry Potter. I took videos that I might use as inspiration, maybe like just a quick nod to like, that's how the glasses were set up kind of thing. Not really sure if anything else I would use from Harry Potter World. Two things I forgot to talk about. I just forgot what the second one was. The first one, going to the cemetery. I'm 99% sure they're crows. Maybe they're ravens. I don't really know the difference. But whatever they are. Ton of them at the cemetery. I love them, so like to me it's not a big deal. But going back to my vampires, their like main again, I haven't 100% figured out how it's gonna work, but I'm thinking it's gonna be like their main animal, kind of like a Rapunzel thing where she has her little sidekick in the chameleon. I might do that in the like each of the places has their like animal. Anyway, the vampires have the ravens / the crows. I remembered what the other one was. So when I was at Harry Potter World, the last room you go into on the tour is basically like a mock-up of Hogwarts. It is so big. It really puts into perspective how big Hogwarts is. Because when you're watching the movie, you're like, yeah, it's big, but you don't really get it like that. It's so big. I did take multiple videos and I like configured them into one to kind of get like the spiral of it. It's so big. But while I was there, here's the thing. When I was at Tower of London is kind of my idea for this place we're gonna be in book 2. And that's still the case. But when I was at Hogwarts, not Hogwarts, but like that mock-up of Hogwarts, I was like, wow, it doesn't fit for book 2. But now that because I was like, I know this, obviously not Hogwarts, but like the expanse of it, I know that'll fit for something. So I kind of feel like, I keep talking about books 1 through 3. It's not a trilogy, it's a 5-book series. The reason I talk about books 1 through 3 is because those are the ones that I have, they're not clear, but they're more clear in my head, rather than 4 and 5 are pretty much not clear at all. But having that as kind of like the location for book 5 of just basically this like expansive castle, palace, academy, I'm not sure what it's gonna be yet. It could be something related to the gods as well, because again, haven't decided 100% yet, but I'm thinking it'll be like different gods for each of the nations, but they're all gods to all the nations, if that makes sense. Again, not sure, because then I have to like figure out how that plays into the theocracy of one of those nations, because the theocracy goes towards not gods. So yeah, anyway, I'm still trying to figure that part out. But yeah, the expansiveness of that Hogwarts mock-up, wow. I kind of feel like that wasn't enough time to show all the videos, but maybe it was, I'm not sure. But if it wasn't, we'll get back to it after this. I want to show you some of the things I bought within these last few weeks. One of them, the first thing that I got at Chatsworth House, only got it because I was at Chatsworth House, because I did find out afterwards that you can get it on like Etsy and stuff. I would have never ordered this online, never in 100 years. And like online I would be like, oh cute, whatever, and moved on. But in person I saw it and I was like, oh my god, I have to have it. here's the thing. I'm not going to show it to you in person because it's wrapped up right now. Like, it's bubble wrapped. So I'm not going to take it out of its bubble wrap because I still need to travel to multiple places with it. So I need it to stay safe. But I'm put up a picture that I just find online. It's a Mr. Darcy bust. Yes. It's kind of ridiculous, but I was like, this would go perfectly into my library. Basically, a lot of the shopping I'm doing here, which isn't that much shopping, is stuff for like my actual house, not living with my mom, but like my actual house. So yeah, that was kind of ridiculous, but it also ended up being a birthday present because my brother ended up just paying for it as a birthday present to me. Anyway, the next two things I got, that cannot be used for inspiration. I mean, I guess it can. I guess I can make it like busts of like some of the characters too. We'll see. Maybe it will be used as inspiration. I don't think so. These other two books can and cannot, weirdly enough. So I went to an antique bookstore, got these two. They were like around 15 pounds each. There was books there way more. So yeah, I went on the cheaper side. This, which one is it? This one. Bring Them Back Alive is basically like, I guess you would call it a memoir. Basically this man's journey of going around the world, I guess, to bring back animals alive for a zoo. So it's literally him just describing it. I don't know what year this is from. It's from the 1900s for sure, but like 1926. In 1926, I came close to being killed by a tapir, the meekest of animals. So basically, yeah, back 100 years ago, of them getting animals for the zoo. Will this actually be used for research? Probably not, because I can't imagine like what I would need this for. But you never know, maybe. This is more for decorations for sure, but like the reason I got both these books was because they're also stuff I would want to read. So yeah, we got that. Then we also got The Book of Etiquette by Lady Trubridge. Basically, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's a book of etiquette for ladies, and it goes through everything that you can need. The social letter, tidiness and legibility on like writing letters. There's a whole section on dinners, knights, esquires. There's a whole section on travel. There's a section on dressing, dessert menus. That's the dinner section. What is this? Afternoon parties. That's another section. Basically, a whole section of like etiquette that was required of girls back then. This, I feel like, is definitely more research for like a Regency romance, and I'm not writing a Regency romance. I love Regency romance, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it any type of justice. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick to reading those. But I feel like I could actually use these for like certain aspects of the series on like on etiquette wise. But yeah, I have to actually like read through it, and this will be an easy read because it's literally like small paragraphs of it just telling you things to do. Yeah, this was the one I was most excited for because I saw this and I was like, oh, I kind of want that. But I was like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money on it. And then I kept walking around, and then this one was in the under 10 pound section. Yeah, because this was 18 pounds. So together it was like 25, 30 pounds. This was in the under 10 section, so I was like, oh, if I'm gonna get this, I'm definitely getting this one. So yeah, this is the one I'm most excited out of everything I got. And then I also got, hold on, I'm gonna grab it. I almost forgot to show you some other stuff too. But I also got this tiny little book. This was the most expensive out of all of the books that I got, believe it or not. It's called Little Nellie or Patient Striving. I kid you, I didn't get these at the same antique bookstore, but this was also at a used bookstore. Literally got it because it says Nellie on it. That's how easy it is to get me. If my name's on it, I'm getting it. But patient striving, I feel like also describes me because patiently striving for this career that I want. Yeah, I had them like tape it up because there was pages falling out. This was 40 pounds, my guy. yes, I am ridiculous and I did spend that money, but you know, once in a lifetime type of find. Other things I got. At Harry Potter World, I bought this quill set. Again, for my actual house. So I don't plan on opening this until I have like a office in my house that I can open it at. But actually I might need to open this sooner, depending on like when I'm writing these books and stuff, because this, like using the quill, like knowing what it feels like so that I can describe it in the books, very important. I also got, they gave you the butterbeer mug for free if you bought butterbeer, so like I have that. That's not what I was gonna show you. Oh, they wrapped it up. Yeah, I'm not gonna open this. Basically a cauldron cup. It's just a cauldron. The other day I was at like a moon exhibit at a church and I bought this for my nephew, but I'm still gonna show it to you. It's Children's Picture Atlas of the Stars. It's basically just like teaching children about like the stars and the zodiacs and all that stuff. This is for my nephew, but while I'm reading it to him and I'm teaching him about it, I could definitely use this for my story. I would probably change names, obviously. Probably. We'll see. Or I might just do it in a different language. That is the secret. You just do it in a different language and people think you're doing a whole new shebang. Like the seasons, I've decided. This world doesn't have 4 seasons, but the seasons that it does have, I think I'm just going to use the Armenian words for it. Because to you, it's going to be like creative. To me, I'm just using a different language. Anyway. Okay, I'm going to make this last clip or so. Just talking, I guess. Oh, actually, let me just talk about what we're thinking for this series. I'm just going to do this in case I have more videos I need to add here. But basically, trying not to give too much away. Book 1 is gonna follow 5 characters. Technically 3 of them are from the same land, but like technically not. So 2 of them are from the same land. 1 of them is from a different land, 1 of them is from a different land, and then 1 of them is from that same land as those first 2, but technically not, so she's starting from somewhere else. And she is gonna have the least amount of scenes. And she's gonna be kind of like in the water a lot of the time. Her storyline is the one I'm still trying to like more figure out. Of like, here's the reason I can't really figure it out yet, because I need to know where it's leading to, which is also why I love outlining an entire series at once, because if I kind of know, again, I don't have to know exactly what's happening in each book, but if I know kind of what I need in like book 4, then I know, do I need to start talking about it in book 1, or can I just wait until like book 2 or 3 to bring it up? Stuff like that. For her, I kind of need to know what's gonna happen in like 3, 4-ish, so that why is this happening to her right now? That's my problem, and because I don't really know, it's kind of difficult. But I will say, I talked about this in part 1. One of the other characters, once I like figured out, did I talk about this in book 1? Yeah, when I went to Frameless, that picture I saw of that man, immediately I was like, this man is a Voyager. Did I say this in part 1? I don't know. Basically, he's gonna be a Voyager. So I was like, oh, that could start tying into like the water section, but I'm not entirely sure how. Let's just put it that way. But basically, the way I have book 1 currently is they're gonna be in their respective lands, and then somehow, I kind of do know how, but somehow they all end up in the Theocracy Nation, and then they have to make their way across the Theocracy Nation to get to, again, I'm trying not to give too much away, but to get to something that they want. And then that is gonna end up leading them to book 2, where they're in a completely different nation as well. But in the Theocracy Nation, this is where I come up with like, do I want it more travel based of them like figuring stuff out and just being in the forest? Do I want kind of a mix of that, but also have an academy there? Here's the thing. Or do I want it, option 3, do I want it more like civilized, where there, like, yeah, there could be scenes in a forest, but a civilized type of way, bringing in the academy. The academy does have to be played in though, so I just realized version 1 can't play out. I mean, it can, but like the academy has to be brought in somehow, because it does play into something that happens later on in the series. But again, how important the academy is will depend on like how I want to bring it in later, or how I want like the Theocracy Nation to be. Like, do I want it more civilized, do I want it less civilized? If it's more civilized, I'm just saying. Ooh, actually, did I say this in part 1? So there's a basis in this world of purity, not in like, I don't really know how to describe it, but like basically it's kind of like an everyone waits till marriage, even though I'm not sure if it's gonna be marriage in this. Oh, that's a lie. Oh, here's the thing, it is technically marriage, but I don't know if I'm gonna call it marriage. I think that's what I meant. Also, it's not gonna be rings. I did figure this out. I'll tell you, I don't care. It's gonna be like scars. So you literally have to stand there and sit through them scarring your hand. And again, I haven't figured out exactly how it is, but I'm guessing it's gonna be like start the scar off and then like break it out over your hand and then bring it over to like your arm, and then I think write like scar the name of the other person onto your arm. And then this brings the question, what if like the person dies, you remarry? There's no remarrying in this world, so get over it. But because the entire world, all the nations live by this, there are the people who don't live by this, so they're gonna be on ships. And I'm like trying to make it as undesirable as possible. So right now I just have like rodents on the ship as well. They're not like packed with rodents. I'm just saying there will be rodents. But I'm trying to think of like what else. Also, once I figured that out, I was like, because in book 2, after those 5 things happen, there's a section where they're with those people, and I'm just like, how is this gonna play out? Now I kind of know how it plays out, and I'm so excited for it. Anyway, I feel like that's saying a lot without saying anything. So yeah, these books are like 3-4 years out, so you'll forget anyway, unless the book's coming out and you come back to this in like 4 years and you're like, oh, let me see what's gonna happen. To be fair, things would have probably changed dramatically by then, but so thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.